Kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trafficking, abusing, alienating, killing, foster prison, foster slaves, domestic terrorism, crimes against humanity, international agenda, CPS, kidnappers, social workers, police officers, stealing children from loving homes by force, fraud, lies, fabrication, tampering with evidence, official oppression, malice, conspiracy, corrupt courts, corrupt judges, corrupt dependency lawyers, government, trafficking children, CPS, kidnappers, child protective service, steal children by force, fraud, fabrication, tampering with evidence, official oppression, malice, CPS, kidnappers, all day, every day, stealing children, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trafficking, abusing, alienating, killing, foster prison, foster slaves, domestic terrorism, crimes against humanity, international agenda, CPS, kidnappers, social workers, police officers, stealing children from loving homes by force, fraud, lies, fabrication.
Hi, everyone. This is Amelia Duran, your host. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice, the window to the truth. I am back, and I have several announcements for the network. We've recently added a new CPS news broadcast featuring Danny McGowan exclusively on Facebook, and I have him here today with me, and we're going to be talking about some of the top stories featured in CPS News. Hi, Danny McGowan. Welcome. Are you there? Hello? McGowan.
Clear. I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you for having me. Coming in out of Los Angeles. Go ahead.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so exciting. You have a new network that you're launching, which we're going to be featuring in social media news and the Porthole to Justice. Share with us a little bit about that before we get to the top stories.
Sure. Just taking it to another level in regards to the message and the voice and the creation of the content and how it's presented and what the specific demands are. What previously we've had a lot of just a hodgepodge of all these different messages, all these different approaches. There really is only one approach. This is a war. It's cold. It's calculated. You have to treat it like a war, and there's one solution. And that's basically a ceasefire. Like Nancy Schaefer said, you have to take the money away. So basically we want to ask that foster parents stop trafficking children until criminal charges can be filed. So no child removed unless criminal charges. So the CPS News Network, it's just a way to reach people outside of the struggle. We're changing the mindset of the open community. So since its launch, we've got a good response. We've had shares and views that we've never really seen before. It's gaining traction quickly due to maybe the way the content is created, the impact it's having, the pictures, the videos that we're putting together. So it's a very exciting time, and I just want to remind everybody that the time that we're in and the change and we have more power than we think, and to use that power.
Yeah, and I'm excited about the new project. The federal incentives that Nancy Schaefer spoke of that was established in 1997, which was legislated during the Clinton administration, effectively put a bounty on all of our children's heads and our elderly as well. So this is what we're wanting to de-incentive. How do I say the word? De-incentive size?
Incentivize.
Incentivize. Yes, this is a tongue twister for me. Okay, so we had a viral video last night of a cop, Sergeant Joshua Noel, basically body slamming a little girl, a 6-year-old little girl.
Yes, we do. It's Joshua Howell, Sedalia, Missouri. captured on video. These people seen him pull her out of the car like an adult. That is their claim. Like he pulled her out of the car, threw her down as if she was an adult, had her pinned on the ground, had his knee in her back, gave her a black eye, noticed that people were videotaping him, and immediately said, "I'm a cop. She's a foster kid. She's kicking and hitting everyone." Tries to do the cop cover up as he got captured on video, terrorizing and brutalizing a girl named Lila. The grandmother is fighting for her. She's very happy about the work we've done in regards to getting the message out there. We understood that there was a police report, an actual police report. It's in the Sedalia, Missouri police crime. I guess they have little crime tickets, but we've had a screenshot of that, so it appears there was a legitimate abuse report made by the people that took the video. And we understood that the child was given back to this abuser as long as he doesn't attack her again. That's what we're hearing.
Wow.
Sure. We have a lot of pictures coming in of the girl very happy with her family, full of smiles, but they could be drugging her. In 1 week, we've seen 3 police officers involved in the care and safety of foster kids, their foster parents, three of them, 2 in Florida, 1 in Missouri. Missouri was the one that brutalized the girl and abused her and gave her a black eye. The other 2 are in Florida, where the girl was bitten by a pit bull of the father. That was a police chief in Pinellas County, Florida. And then his son is an officer, a foster parent. We're seeing cops trafficking children, not concerned about the care and kindness and the concern that they need to have in order to have these. They shouldn't be around children. They're not doing it for the care and concern of children. They're doing it for the money, the tax deductions, the perversion. So we just want to put a spotlight on that these law enforcement officers are getting involved in child trafficking. Not only are they kidnapping and not charging parents with the crimes, they're actually doing the foster parenting. And we've had 1 child die, 7-month-old, coming out of Pinellas, Florida. 2 officers that are involved in her care, safety, and well-being leave her with a pit bull to be murdered. It's called neglect. It's called not being with people that really care about an infant so young, 7 months. There's a dog in the house. Oh, no. You put that baby up on a shelf in a car seat. You close the door. You keep that dog away from the child. There was no concern here. The dog's going to be euthanized. But spotlights law enforcement and how they don't care, how they're involved in the trafficking of foster kids.
Sure. We see this, you and I, we know this, doing this work for many years now together. We see these cops, they're like the collection agent, strong arm enforcement of the Child Protective Services. They're kidnapping and trafficking the children. Because this is child trafficking, when we have a broken foster care system that is basically contriving these situations and taking these children from parents basically because they're poor. They're not charging these parents with crimes. They're not giving parents a trial with due process. They're not charged with crimes of neglect or abuse necessarily when these children get taken and they're trafficked in some of the most dangerous places in America. Children are 6 to 10 times more likely to suffer all forms of abuse every single day with a stranger in foster care. They get money. There's incentives for these children. There's for personal gain for these foster care placements as well.
Huge amounts of money involved. We hear it's up to $150,000 a child. They only give the foster parents 10% of that, so 90% of the take. We understand that they're on the stock exchange, they're the New York Stock Exchange, these foster agencies. The huge amounts of money. It's the most massive organized child trafficking, crimes against humanity industrial complex ever created. So it's just huge. Nancy Schaefer said there was she said 40 billion in the hands of judges. They had control of the money. It's ultimately the judges from Nancy's perspective. And imagine what that would be today. That was in 2002. I think easily we can times that by 3 or 4 times. So
that's why a lot of these crimes have gone unreported, because it is our justice system that is perpetrating these crimes against humanity and this culture of child trafficking in our society.
Normalizing social conditioning. This just comes from the highest diabolical people that control every aspect of our government. They're conditioning foster care is nothing but a social conditioning and agenda to traffic children. It's normalizing child trafficking. That's what foster care has done, and they know this. The people that created it. It's just like they're trying to normalize pedophilia. They've normalized child trafficking through foster care.
And it's not uncommon, and we sadly often hear these stories, Danny, where they are rehoming and placing these children with registered pedophiles and abusers. In Los Angeles alone, there were 800 registered pedophiles that were licensed as foster care placements.
Yes, and there's also 800 missing foster kids in Los Angeles. So if they're missing, there's no accountability. This is the full-on black market as regards to their federal intake of money. They could be receiving anywhere from $100 to $200 million off of 800 foster kids that they don't know where they are. We have an idea where we want to get law enforcement to put on every one of their police vehicles in Los Angeles a bumper sticker that says missingkidsla.org. They need to spotlight this. They're responsible for their care. They're responsible to know where they are, and they're not doing anything about it. There's no task force. There's no talk about it. It's never really been in any major news organization. I've never seen an article done on it by LA Times, by any news organization in the entertainment news capital of the world, Hollywood, Los Angeles. We don't know where these kids are, and at all ages, it's just a scrapbook. You just can't trust these people. You don't know what to believe and what not to, but they're showcasing 800 kids there. The pictures are crummy. They're not good pictures. You see a 6-year-old, they'll say that she's 16 missing. It's a hodge. You can see that they're documenting these people as missing, but there's no cohesive agenda to find them. No last where they've been seen last, who they're with, what most likely happened, any kind of detailed information is not there at all. So they could be capable of creating these profiles. They're so ridiculously done and so much minimal information as to who they are, or even a good picture of them, that for all we know, they're fabricating these things just to collect the money. But I can guarantee you they're collecting federal foster funds. I know how they work. I've been dealing with them for 6 years here in Los Angeles. I can almost guarantee you that they're collecting funds for kids. They don't know where they are, and they don't have a task force to look for them. And in this day of age with internet technology, it's not that difficult, and to to find people.
And
it's really
and they've known. I think it was 2007. Kamala Harris, in her speech, mentioned that 70% of these children, at that time, I think now the number is larger. At that time, were coming out of foster care were being directly funneled into child trafficking, human trafficking. These statistics, sex trafficking. Yeah, sex trafficking. Even 70% is alarming.
UCLA show she did at the school, and that's when she made those statements. Now we have a lawyer out of Arizona, Austin Bennett, calling out the Arizona governor and the attorney general complicit kidnapping, child trafficking, calling it what it is. Many lawyers don't want to do this because it can ruin their career. But we have a lawyer in Arizona calling him out. You can find that at CPS News. His name's Austin Bennett. They're ultimately responsible, just like Kamala Harris, Attorney General of California, complicit. They talk about it. They don't do anything about it. The governor, Jerry Brown, the most invisible governor in the United States. I never see him doing anything. They got
really no child, dreams of growing up and participating in sex trafficking. And these children, we should have numbers of up to 80% of these children graduating high school and going to college. And there should be, there is incentives, there is scholarships in place for these foster children to attend college. However, they're not being used. This money is not being utilized for this purpose. Where, many of audits have seen these monies reallocated in other areas. It's shocking. People don't want to wrap their heads around this concept, but the foster system is simply broken. And so we have to spotlight these crimes. They're crimes against humanity, and they are there's a mentality in our Congress that is contriving poverty, contriving these conditions so they have a more vulnerable population to prey upon. And it's something that we have to change the perspective of how we view these crimes and how we view these children that are going into foster care and coming out into the sex trafficking community and the human trafficking community as a whole, because these, the majority of prostitutes and child sex victims of sex trafficking, they're criminalized often in the system. And so we have to change this perspective, because a lot of these children and women that are criminalized, they don't necessarily want to be, doing what they're doing. The other thing is this whole perspective of how the money is allocated through the American Safe Families Act. These children are groomed and objectified once they're placed in these foster homes because there is an incentive to traffic.
Yes, you mentioned poverty. They had a viral picture came out like within a week of the black man, Northern California, who was homeless with his son. There was a picture saying we're in a third world country. And it went viral. He had the child placed with somebody who said they would take care of the child, 5-year-old boy, and they had a CPS case that's 18 years old. So CPS took the boy from the home. So yes, we're seeing the viral, the people. The poverty, we're seeing the effects of poverty. We're going into the last quarter of 2018, a huge poverty crisis. It's going to get worse. You can feel it. People are scared out there. They're scared. The price of gas, it's approaching $4 here in Los Angeles. The poverty crisis that's coming, it's here, and it's here now. And it doesn't look good. We need to. Housing should be a human right, and if we can, that should be a basic human right. And instead, people want to talk about building a wall, but
exactly. We have all this migration coming in, which is a good thing. However, when they're undocumented, these people are preyed upon. They're used for low income wages. Basically slavery is what we're seeing.
Of course, and they're a market. They consume more products and services than any other nationality here in California. The immigrants, they're buying, they're purchasing, they're being taxed on their purchases. They're not filing taxes.
People, Americans here in this country aren't wanting to do that backbreaking labor, so they're using illegal labor, and they're taking advantage because they're able to basically pay slave wages, and the housing is as there are usually many families that live in one house. In California, the rent is astronomically high. What we're seeing in some of these democratic states is a level of corruption that humanity simply cannot sustain.
Sure, they're incarcerating them. The aliens. They're incarcerating them, collecting at least $80,000 a year to incarcerate them. So it's just a big racket. The whole prison industrial complex. The large amounts of money. I mean, $80,000 a year. They claim that that's more than any prestigious college in the United States. The volume and the amount of money that they receive to put somebody in prison. So basically failure. I wanted to mention the bar association, the failure, the amounts they create all this failure, judicial crimes, judicial anything. So the bar is behind it with the judges, the failure that we see in foster care. On
another note, excuse me for interjecting, but, bigger picture, this isn't isolated to just America. However, America is the source of a lot of this corruption in regards to the human trafficking. But the bar, and Child Protective Services is global. During the Clinton administration, a branch of Child Protective Services was placed on every military that we have globally. So it's not just, these crimes are not just isolated to America, but, the truth is America is contriving a lot of these crimes against humanity.
Yes, the Bar Association, just huge amounts of money, huge organized crime ring. It's a British accreditation registry. We have word that there's nothing gave them the actual right to do what they're doing as this membership thing. And its legitimacy, how legitimate is it? But every politician is a lawyer. Almost every judge has been a lawyer at one time.
I recently had on Chris Howlett, who has an emoluments clause, which would require independent registering state by state for some of these bar-accredited licensed attorneys, which I think is a revolutionary idea for some of these issues. I think I'll have him back on the show.
Sure. I think David Jose mentioned that the accreditation is not actually legitimate. It's like a private business accreditation as opposed to a public entity licensee. If you can understand that, like a AAA membership as opposed to actual straight up state of California Bar Association. It's more like a national membership.
And with the level of corruption that we're seeing, Danny, you would think that there would be hundreds of thousands of attorneys stepping up, nationwide to speak to some of these crimes against the children. And we're seeing maybe 1 or 2, 5 cases a year being won against the state. This is a small drop in the bucket. It's almost, just for appearance to make it seem like there's some sort of, justice in our justice system. There is literally thousands, hundreds of thousands, 250,000 children displaced on American soil in the United States alone.
Exactly, yes. I think it's as high as 400,000 actual foster kids. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that we're seeing, 2,500 children at our borders. It's not just, and these crimes are happening at our borders, but it's also happening on American soil as well. So, Danny, thank you so much for coming on. We're going to be featuring a CPS news segment on the Porthole to Justice and social media news channel. We're going to try and get to you at least twice a month, if not weekly. I thank you so much for coming on and joining the show today.
Thank you, Amy. It's a blessing. And everybody out there, just keep the faith. We have powers. I've been at this 6 years. I know the pulse of the web. I've been on the web 20 years. I feel the pulse. I know the pulse. And our time is now. Again, there was an executive order for immigrants. We need to cease and desist, ceasefire order on foster kids. No criminal charges. No child removal. It's that simple. It's common sense. And we need due process. Get rid of the whole civil court system. It's a sham. From top to bottom, David Jose has outlined it's a pure administrative business of trafficking children.
Thank you so much, Danny. All right, everyone. I am going to be giving David Jose a shout out tonight on the TGIF Friday Music Show. You can tune in tonight at 7:30. I will be hosting Motown Night and featuring 2 new songs from musician Zeph Daniel. So tune in at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. You can join us for TGIF Music Show. Also, starting next week, I am going to be doing a new project, Awesome Blossoms, exclusively on Facebook. I will be educating, highlighting, and spotlighting rare and exotic orchids on my Facebook page, Awesome Blossoms. You can check it out on Facebook exclusively. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. This has been another episode of Porthole to Justice Off the Cuff. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to survive, as Lionel would say, of NWO Freedom Fighters.
Kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, kidnapping, trafficking, abusing, alienating, killing, foster prison, foster slaves, domestic terrorism, crimes against humanity, international agenda, CPS, kidnappers, social workers, police officers, stealing children from loving homes, by force, fraud, lies, fabrication, tampering with evidence, official oppression, malice, conspiracy, corrupt courts, corrupt judges, corrupt dependency lawyers, government, trafficking children, CPS, kidnappers, child protective service, steal children by force, fraud, fabrication, tampering with evidence, official oppression, malice, CPS, kidnappers, all day, every day, stealing children, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trapping, kidnapping, trafficking, abusing, alienating, killing, foster prison, foster slaves, domestic terrorism, crimes against humanity, international agenda, CPS, kidnappers, social workers, police officers, stealing children from loving homes, by force, fraud, lies, fabrication.